So in terms of the agenda for today's meeting, I will give the floor to Ioannis in a few moments just to present an overview of the 6G-PATH project, information that is important for you to have a broader context of what we're looking for in the project. I'll then hand over the floor to João, who will provide some more details on the technical specifications. Important because there is a direct relationship with the proposals, the use cases that you'll be submitting, and the technical aspects of the project. And then myself, I will go into a bit more detail about the requirements, the rules for participation, what you can expect from the open call itself and the future program. Okay, we'll wrap up with a couple of tips and then some time for Q&A, and we'll close by 12 o'clock, just in time for lunch. So again, thank you very much for being here. I will now give the floor to Ioannis, and you'll let me know when you want me to move on to the next slide. Ioannis, thank you very much. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Samuel. Thank you all for joining this second webinar regarding informative provision of material for our second open call in the framework of the 6G-PATH project. So we can pass to the next slide. I will try to give an overview. Next slide, please. An overview of the activities covered by our project, scope, goal, objectives, the entire ecosystem, and what we are practically aiming to realize also with the support of the open call participants. Next slide, please. As an introduction, just to lay out the global 5G view all around the world, it is evident that we have worldwide 5G deployment in numerous countries. We have new applications. What is the most important here is the fact that verticals have an important role to realize. So 5G will be enabled for new applications, will support digitalization of economies and society, but we are also facing the next steps towards beyond 5G or 6G, which will influence directly the market and the economy, and a great variety of vertical sectors like, for example, health, education, safety, cities, manufacturing, agriculture, and many, many more. So this is the first, let's say, consideration. We pass to the next slide. We have a 5G global deployment. However, in view of the progress towards the next generation, the 6G, which is expected to take place in some years from now, according to the IMT 2030, we expect that this new generation will create a new era of connected things, humans, and other equipment. It will support modern use cases and various applications domain. Of course, the role of artificial intelligence will be critical for any further progress, and this will also support options for wider wireless connectivity. So this new architecture is expected to be flexible and efficient in order to enable integration of everything and encompass AI-powered enablers. And in this framework, artificial intelligence and machine learning will have a critical role to perform in order to maintain operation of cost effectiveness, automation regarding decision-making processes, and also achieving a zero-touch approach to the extent possible. We pass to the next slide. Here, the message is that the forthcoming beyond 5G services will, in order to be effective, they have to be correlated to trials and works that will take place in test beds, validation tests, collection of sets of measurements, and these trial environments, which are strongly related to our activities, will support the inclusion of these novelties in our modern digital era. So we expect that in order to propose some guidelines for the development of the next generation, which is 6G, we must support actions focused on test beds, trials, collection of information, and all these will create KPIs and KVIs that will allow us to delineate the new reality. And now it is, next slide, we come to the framework of our project. First of all, a global view of our project. We have 28 plus 1, 29 partners from the 13 countries. We have initially 10 use cases, and now we have 7 plus 2 new test beds for the support of pilot actions. You can see that we have industrial partners, academic and research partners, and which is most important, direct involvement from market actors, that is 12 SMEs, which support inclusion in real market terms of all our novelties. We pass to the next slide. So, as I said before, as a conclusion, it is evident that we are moving towards 6G. However, although 5G has proposed and provided a lot of, let's say, facilities, it is expected to provide more in terms of efficiency, performance, for example, and other indicators. So there are more demands for higher throughput, lower latency, and energy efficient communication. And here is our project. The aim is to support development and integration of new tools and products from European companies in the framework of beyond 5G towards 6G via the promotion of related KPIs and KVIs. How? Via considering 10 initial use cases in our 4 verticals. But here comes the actions of the open call 1 and open call 2. We are actually expecting to have 30 new use cases that will be tested in our pilot sites. And our project will be in strong cooperation with other SNSJU activities. We pass to the next slide, please. This is our philosophy, as I said before. We have the core actions of our 6G-PATH platforms, the related use case, the 10 initial ones, plus the 30 that will appear after the selection of the open call 2, involvement of verticals, test facilities, correlation to previous standardization activities, experience that will come by the involvement of third parties, and of course, collaborative activities with other research results from past or ongoing European projects, especially from the area of the SNS joint undertaking. We pass to the next slide, please. Here there are the goals of our actions. First of all, we expect to integrate and operate several test beds that will go beyond 5G and will follow 3GPP releases from number 18 to 20 and further on potentially. This bed will be used as a common infrastructure for the integration of beyond 5G and 6G innovations. We expect also to propose and offer a transversal experimentation platform for the support of innovative use cases. And we will integrate a total set of 40 use cases, as I mentioned before, all being around in our 4 verticals, that is farming, education, smart cities, and health. Next slide, please. Just to be in time. Our goals as a continuation, we expect that we will validate the technological innovation and pilot setups. All these will be relevant to business models and market analysis so that to propose viable solutions for the market benefit. And we expect that all these will support options for generating material and appropriate lessons and requirements for the next generation that will be beneficial for the market sector. Next slide, please. This is an overview of our, let's say, framework. We have our initial set of use cases. As I mentioned before, we will add 30 more use cases via your involvement. We also have a set of test beds that has been enriched via the inclusion of 2 extra test beds as a result of the previous open call.
And we feel that the involvement of third parties and the support of market actors will promote our actions. Next slide, please. These are the expected outcomes: contribution to refinement of end-to-end 5G advanced 6G infrastructure, validation of core technologies and architectures, also in the framework of value chain, focusing on IoT connectivity services for differentiated performance requirements, the promotion of viable and sustainable business model for these use cases, support, of course, of contributions via all these works to the standardization fora. We continue. Next slide. And in a wider framework, we expect that this will be aligned to the European policy, as we will have industrial stakeholders and SMEs and representatives from the research community. We will also have a repository of requirements for verticals and lesson learned, where actions from the open call to outcome will be included. Also a repository of open source tools and modules, and of course our support in the development promoted by the European Union's research activities. I feel this was the final slide, or we have one more. Yes, this is as a conclusion in a more strategic oriented, let's say, view. Our action is fully aligned to the Horizon Europe strategic impact. We expect that this will support the wider framework for identified beyond 5G capabilities, also the inclusion of new actors from and beyond the verticals, the support of our activities via the promotion and proposition of KPIs will influence the market. We expect that this will also stimulate alliances with vertical industrial sectors and as a whole will support sustainability activities in the wider European framework. So this is more, I think this was the last slide from my presentation.
Yes.
I think this is more or less the framework, the strategic view, our goals, and I will now pass the floor to Samuel for the coordination of the activities. Just by my side, I would like to mention that we are at your full availability for any potential query, also including issues about the strategic view of the project. Thank you, Samuel. I pass the floor to you.
Thank you very much, Ioannis, for the detailed introduction to the project, and I hope that enlightens our participants here about the complexity of what we're doing and really how the proposals, potential projects that we fund really fit into what we're trying to do within 6G-PATH. Thank you, Ioannis. So we continue now and we go into details about technical aspects of 6G-PATH project. And I give you the floor, João.
Hello, good morning. Hopefully you can hear me well. So I'm João from One Source, and I'll be very brief. Yeah, you can move on. One of the main goals, as was mentioned by Ioannis, from 6G-PATH, it's the creation of the experimentation platform, 6G-PATH platform. This is a platform designed to onboard and integrate third parties and experiments within our framework and our test beds and the infrastructures and technologies. So the goal with this platform is for these third parties to be able to run dedicated and specific experiments in order to validate and evaluate their solutions, their innovations, their technologies, their use cases. And so for this open call, the use cases are not expected to necessarily integrate with this platform, but they should collaborate with the test beds in order to define test cases and their experiments to be run during the trials and pilots to be executed during the project. And with this, we have a common framework for validation and evaluation of these technologies. so that we can do an assessment both in the technological part, but also in the societal, environmental, and the impact evaluation of these use cases, so that we can then share this information with the SNS and the other stakeholders. So this is the platform. Next. So in 6G-PATH, we are focusing for verticals, which are smart cities, education, health, and farming. And we already have 10 running use cases from the project divided between these verticals. Each use case is focusing on a specific issue in that vertical and applying specific key innovations from beyond 5G and 6G, as you can see in this figure. So what we are expecting is for these new use cases coming from this open call is to target at least one of these verticals. We can accept other verticals, but at least one of these verticals should be targeted. And keep in mind, it is also important to not repeat the work that we are already doing in these internal use cases. So this information I'm not going to be sharing here, but you can see it in the open call documentation. We also have some deliverables available with description of these use cases, also with description of the platform, and they are available on our website, so you can see them, read through them, and see what you are expected or not to do. And if you have questions, then we can discuss it. But you can keep in mind that these are the verticals, and you should or you have to target at least one of them. So next. When it comes to testbeds, we have in total 9 testbeds. 7 testbeds come from the project, and we have 2 extra testbeds that originate from the previous open call. So each project should be run, and the trials and pilots from each project should run in at least one of the testbeds of the project. You could target more than one, but I would not advise it, because it will most likely make the proposal unfeasible, because these testbeds are not federated, which will make things complicated, but it can be case by case. But you have to be able to integrate and execute the use case and the trials and the pilots in the infrastructure and the location of these testbeds. So next. For each of these testbeds, there are a set of extensions or innovations that come from the previous open call as well. Each one of these testbeds has these innovations, and we are expecting for the new projects, the new use cases, to leverage these innovations. So, for example, if one use case is targeting the Malaga testbed, which has 3 different innovations, you should also target one of these innovations. This is not mandatory, but the projects that do target innovations will be prioritized, because we will have at least one project accepted for each testbed and one project accepted for each innovation. So even though you might have better proposal overall, if another that's comparable is targeting one innovation and that specific project is not, then the one targeting the innovation will be prioritized and will have an advantage compared to the others. So this is very relevant, and all projects should keep this in mind. So I think that's mostly what I wanted to focus on. So you have the testbeds, the platform, and the extensions, and you should focus on targeting each one of them. And that's it.
Thank you, João. Super relevant points, which we'll address in a bit more detail also in this next part of the presentation. So thanks, João. And I will continue now with the more bureaucratic part of the session, also the specifics of the open call and what we expect from you, what you can expect from us in terms of your participation. Okay, the key things that I will be going through are the general framework of this open call, the second open call, an overview of some details. What is the overall timeline? Okay, keep in mind that we've launched on the 1st of July, so we're already halfway through. Still plenty of time to participate. So this webinar comes at a perfect time, I would say. Some conditions for participation, other details, the application form, so what you should actually submit to participate, what the evaluation process looks like, key selection criteria. So we're going to address a little bit in a bit more detail what João just briefly mentioned, and then should you be selected, what you can expect in terms of project implementation. So let's jump into each of these items. Okay, so what is the general framework? I believe you've seen this image probably more than once today, but just to provide again further clarification, further context, we had a first open call that ran last year. The project started in March. We have and awarded 2 new test beds. Okay, we had a track A, 2 new test beds, which were briefly mentioned by João, and we had 10 extensions that were leveraging, integrating new technology into 7 of the original test beds of the project, which you can see on the lower half of the project. Okay, so that was setting up the first open call, setting up further infrastructure for the project. Now, what we have in this open call, the reason why you're here today is because we're looking for new applications, the development of use cases which maximize, take full advantage of infrastructure that we already had, extensions and infrastructure that we onboarded from the first open call. Okay, so that is the key objective here: developing use cases to maximize the value of what we had and have integrated through the first open call. Who is this open to? Can you apply? Is the key question. We're looking for individual entities, okay, not open to consortia. This is a difference compared to the first open call in case you're a repeat applicant. The last time there was an option for consortia. This is not the case. So only one entity can apply per application. SMEs, including startups and all of them and everything below, and then research organizations. Some more details about the research organizations aspect in just a minute. EU member states with a valid VAT and PIC number are eligible, and some specific countries associated to Horizon Europe. Okay, not the full breadth that you might think, given the SNS infrastructure, the SNS framework. There is a more specific limitation on which countries can apply. Those are listed in the guidelines for applicants in case you're in doubt. 60,000 euros per project. We will be funding 30 projects. Okay, I've participated in many open calls. This is quite novel in the fact that we will be funding a significant number of open calls. So the chances are quite positive or quite high that you might be selected. So this is a really good opportunity if this is something that you think matches what you, as a startup, as an SME research organization, are developing, working on B5G, 6G. Okay. The project focus. So as was briefly mentioned by João, you must select one of the use case topics that we've listed and we'll see in the next slide, okay, that have been defined by the test beds original, by the track A, the new the test beds, and also taking into account extensions that have been integrated into these. So where can you find these? In the guidelines for applicants, Annex 1, you'll have in a specific section, page 6 and 7 to be precise, a list of all the key use case topics that you can apply to. You must select one, okay? Some are very specific and will be prioritized, as mentioned. Others give freedom to a broader, let's say, more creativity in terms of what you can develop. So it'll be aligned with one of the verticals. It'll be aligned with the capacity, the offer that the test bed has, but isn't as specific in terms of a topic or the expected output associated to it. Okay, so this is what you can look at. There aren't a significant level of detail on purpose. Okay, so this is general an understanding of the topic that we're looking for, but it is recommended that you do look into the Annex 1.1, the technical specifications, to understand exactly how these use case topics fit into the offer, the technical infrastructure associated to these test beds. Okay. Again, this is not the full list. This is just a representation, so you have a better understanding of what exactly we are looking for. This is the general timeline, which we'll get into the specifics in just a second. But of course, we'll have the launch, which is already ongoing, running up until the 10th of September. We'll run the evaluation, and then there is a 9-month implementation period where you will receive assistance from us at 6G-PATH to also help you implement your project, along with the support of the test beds you're eventually targeting. key things to participate. So you'll have found out about this open call through our website, through our social media, through other information. That is fantastic. Just keep in mind that to participate in the open call, we're running the process through F6S platform. Okay, so if you do not have an account, you will be required to register for one. The links for that are all over our social media, our website, so it's a pretty straightforward process. There is a specific application form, a technical proposal template that you have to fill out and also upload. Okay, this is a mandatory thing. We'll get to that in just a second. In terms of multiple submissions, we are a bit more flexible this time around. SMEs can only submit one application. Okay, consider yourselves a closed circuit. But in the case of research organizations, given their size, given the fact that there are many departments, many units, many laboratories, whatever may be the case, we're giving some flexibility for research organizations to submit a maximum of 3, although only one, if that's the case, will be selected for funding. Okay. So that is also something a bit different that you should keep in mind. It gives, as I've mentioned, a few more chances. We recognize that it's not always possible for everyone in every single research organization to talk amongst each other, that you're not aware of all the proposals you're applying. So this gives a bit more of a chance for that participation. But as I just mentioned, you will only be able to participate or receive funding from one. So if it were the case, let me focus on the University of Malaga, who is a beneficiary of our project. The unit that they represent would only be funded once. It would be the same option for anyone else. Okay. English is the official language, so no documentation in any other language except English. And keep in mind that open call number 2 will not fund any entity, any project that is funded under open call number 1. And of course, keep in mind the rule of double funding. We are not going to fund anything that is already being developed in the framework of another funded project, whether that be national, European funding. Okay, double funding is not allowed. Should you be selected, you will be signing administrative documents, so the burden is on you. Also, should you be in violation also of that rule. A couple of considerations, some questions that came out of our first open call, things that might not be 100% clear that we think are important to emphasize again. We have defined for this open call a minimum TRL level of 6. Okay, so this is a very specific number compared to open call number 1. Anything, so 6 and above is what we're looking for. In terms of expected contribution, so there's nothing mandatory, or let's rather, the results that you develop as part of your project are, of course, yours to keep. Now, we like to, as is a commission principle, as is a commission following the commission's vision, we also are encouraging and hoping and will be requesting also that you look at the work that you do, the specific outputs that you deliver, and assess what eventually can be given back to the community for other projects, other initiatives in the future. Okay, what information and content you can also make open source and open data as well. And this will be, of course, assessed case by case, but just something for you to keep in mind. Participation in the assistance program is for all of the selected applicants. All 30 will receive the same level of support, okay, regardless of the topic that you're applying to. And something to keep in mind that might be for those that are repeating their submission, what we had in a previous open call, which was a feasibility check, has now been replaced with a technical eligibility check, and we'll get into that in just a second as well. Okay, so some key additional information for you to consider as we dig a bit deeper. I briefly mentioned the application form. This is what you can expect. So what you're seeing here are 2 screenshots from the F6S form. To the left, you have, let's say, the main entry page where you have some details of what we're looking for, some information about the open call. And then when you click on that button to submit your application by September 10th, that takes you directly to the application form. So what you see on the right side, the right figure, is the form that you will actually have to fill in. It has mainly administrative information, a couple of checkboxes, GDPR related, confidentiality, conflict of interest. And then there is that space, there is a button for you to upload the technical proposal. Okay, the actual sections 1 to 4, where you detail exactly what you're proposing, what your use case is. which is exactly what we're looking at right now. Okay, it's a 4-section Word document that you should fill out. It is very clear on the different criteria and the different items we expect you to address in terms of concept innovation, section 1, the impact, section 2, implementation, section 3, and applicant. It provides you also some tables as guidance. But again, these items here are provided there. You should follow them because these are very much aligned with the evaluation criteria that will be used. So if you do not address any of these items, you will be marked down or you will not be scored because the description is lacking for these specific items. Okay, so read very thoroughly, carefully the technical template before preparing your proposal. Provide as much details as you can within the page limit that has been defined, which is also very important. So in terms of the evaluation process, let's get into that in just a second, or let's get into that just right now. So we are currently, as mentioned, the open call launched on the 1st of July, so that's roughly 35, 36 days ago. We are running until the 10th of September. Okay, so we're still a month and a few days away, plenty of time to prepare and submit your applications. Once that deadline has passed, we will enter into an evaluation phase where we will do an eligibility check. First, an administrative check, which will follow a couple of items we'll see in a few moments, and the technical check, which looks at 4 specific items that, again, we will see in just a moment. If you're eligible or not, if you're not eligible, if something is missing, you will be notified of such result. If not, if everything is okay, you will automatically pass to the remote evaluation, which will be done by 3 people this time around. Okay, 2 external evaluators, highly knowledgeable in the topics of the use case topic that you have applied to. Okay, so there will be a very close alignment with these aspects, and also 1 internal evaluator that is responsible for the test bed, which you have also applied. Okay, so the level of knowledge, the capacity to do a thorough and a coherent evaluation will be there. Should you be selected for funding, you will pass on to that stage. If you are not selected, you will receive an evaluation report with the details of the shortcomings of your proposal. Then we move on to the assistant program, and we'll more details in just a moment. Moving from high level to the specifics of these different criteria. In terms of administrative eligibility check, we will be checking whether you are in fact a legal entity, an SME, an RTO that is eligible to receive funding. If you have provided the information that we're looking for in terms of the administrative stuff on F6S. And then in terms of the technical eligibility check that I just mentioned, the minimum TRL of 6, okay? If I may, I will just quickly jump back just to highlight, I'm not sure if this works, but give me a moment. This cover page right here, which I'm very badly highlighting, is where we will do that first assessment in terms of the feasibility, the quality of the technical work that you are applying. Okay, this will be done even before the remote evaluation. So how well you were able to describe within this section how you're meeting these technical aspects will define whether you move on to the next aspect. So the next part of the evaluation, again, a minimum TRL of 6, the rationale behind it to really justify how you're at this level and how you're planning to go beyond by participating in the program, how you are aligned with one of the verticals. This should be very straightforward, of course. How you are aligned with one of the use case topics, so a brief description of how your proposal addresses it, and then how you plan to use the infrastructure. So in principle, easy to address items, but of course, this is our way of identifying proposals that really have the quality to move on to the next phase of evaluation, which is done, as I mentioned, by 2 external and 1 internal experts. We will be looking at, again, as I mentioned, very much aligned with that technical proposal template, concept innovation, the impact, implementation, and you as an applicant. What do you bring to the table? How can you assure us that you will be able to deliver the proposal that you've just described in the previous 10 or so pages of the proposal? Okay, keep in mind the novelty of the use case, how it is aligned with the 6G-PATH project, everything that Ioannis mentioned in the beginning, that João described also from a technical standpoint. How is your solution going to deliver impact? What is the work plan within the 9 months? KPIs, KVIs. So it's not only performance indicators, but value indicators, something that we are very much looking and addressing in 6G-PATH. Project costs, milestones, things like that. Okay. So everything that we're going to be evaluating is aligned with those bullet points that you will find in the technical proposal template. So once again, address all those items to the extent possible. Selection criteria. So something that is important to us is to ensure a balanced distribution of the proposals across the test beds, across the topics, and in terms of country representation. Okay, so we've defined several criteria which will allow us to do this distribution. Okay, we will look to have at least one application for each of the original test bed, one for each of the track of the 10 track B extensions. Okay, and at least 2 projects for the track A test beds. And lastly, we will be prioritizing, as João mentioned, as you will see in the annex, where there is a P, any application proposal that addresses a use case topic that has been marked as a prioritized one. Okay. And then what we want to avoid is a situation where we have clusters of countries within, let's say, a same test bed. So, for example, having too many Spanish, for example, applicants working with the University of Malaga test bed, or too many Portuguese entities working in the IT Altis Labs test bed as well. Okay, just for sake of clarity. Okay, so when making your decision, keep that in mind, that you will be also going against other proposals within that specific test bed and the use case topic. So coming to an end in terms of the process, should your proposal be successful, well evaluated, and accepted to participate in the program, you will enter again into the program, which will run for 9 months. You will have a very close relationship with the test bed, the extension owner, and all 6G-PATH, let's say, partners. The first 2 months of your work will be focused on specification and design. You'll be fine-tuning your work plan, ensuring that there is a full alignment also with the 6G-PATH infrastructure, the specifics of each test bed or the extension that you're going to be working with. Okay, at the end of that, there's a specific report and a 20% lump sum payment that is made. Then we move on to development and deployment for 4 months. Again, a report at the end of that period. And if you achieve 100% of the KPIs, the milestones that are defined, you will receive the next 40% of the grant And then lastly, the validation and evaluation will be for the 3 final months of the project, which will lead to a final report and the final 40% of the grant. Okay. So overall, in the time that we have, that is the process from submission to participation in the program and everything that we're looking for. Before we get into some Q&A and giving you the floor, a couple of 5 tips to be exact for when you're preparing the proposal. Again, we're at today's Wednesday, 6th of August. The call closes on Wednesday, 10th of September. If I'm not mistaken, that is more than a month away. So still plenty of time to think about everything that we've discussed here today, everything that is available to read. There is time, but of course, do not wait. This is a recommendation, as always, for the last moment to submit. Read all the documentation in detail. If you have questions, things that we might not be able to answer in a few short moments, please use the channels that we have to reach out and clarify any doubts. Okay. So yeah, in terms of the template, be clear and specific. You only have so much space to detail your proposal, so make it clear, make it objective, make it something winning, so that the evaluators can really reflect and assess what you provided. Again, the reference to the 2 months, so try to avoid anything 24 hours before. And then we have the first webinar. We're here today for a second, so make use of the platform and all the excuse me, all the platforms that we have for supporting you in this process. Okay, and we'll close up before the Q&A with some specific links. Everything here that you've seen, the recording will be available. This will be uploaded. All these information, all these links are also available for consultation. So no need to take any particular screenshots. You'll have access to everything that you need after the webinar. Okay, so thank you for hearing me out for the past 20 or so minutes. I will take a breather now and hope to get some Q&A. So if you'd like, please use the raise hand facility or the Q&A, which is the Q&A option also in the webinar facility. So I think we have a question from Boris Pokric about the TRL. Maybe I will see if I'll give you the opportunity to talk, Boris, if that's okay. You tell me. You've been given permission. I'm not sure if this is related to your question about TRL. Boris? Maybe not, but in the meantime, there was a question about TRL6. Is this the starting or? Yeah.
Okay, just a quick question. Sorry.
Yeah.
TRL6, is that starting or ending TRL?
That is a starting TRL.
Okay, thank you.
Starting TRL, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for being here and for the question. Then we have a question from Peter asking about the funding mechanism. This is lump sum, okay? It's not cost-based, so we're looking at quality of result, quality of delivery. There will be reports. We will be assessing your work on how you report or what you describe in the reports, of course, your interactions with the allocated monitors that will be working with you. So no need, and not from the 6G-PATH perspective, we're not looking for cost statements, invoices, and things like that. Of course, from your regular accounting procedures, those are items that you should keep as expenses are made, but not something that we're looking for. We're particularly and exclusively focused on technical quality, okay? I hope that answers your question. I'm looking at those in the Q&A. We have a question from Prachi. So the feasibility check and proposal have to be submitted together. So I'm not sure, Prachi, that's the name I'm using as listed here. So there is no feasibility check done together with a full proposal. That was something that we had last time. This time around, we have one single proposal that is submitted. That after it is submitted, there will be an administrative and technical check on that proposal. And then should that be past both of those moments, then it will go on to the full remote evaluation. So there's only one single file that is submitted, one single proposal that is submitted and file that is uploaded, and then the different technical checks, administrative checks, proposal assessment will be done on that. Okay. Another question from Fontas. Do we select the specific test bed to run the use case as part of the proposal? So what you will be doing is selecting a use case topic that is aligned already with a test bed. Okay. So if you'll allow me to jump back a few slides. So this representation here, this is not all these case topics, it is a few, but what you'll see here, for example, FOC01, FOC02, these are use case topics associated with the focus test bed. Okay, so by selecting a use case topic, you are automatically selecting the test bed that you are going to work with. Okay, so that should be, and that applies to everything else, the original 7 and the other 2 that we have onboarded through open call number 1. Okay, there's a more lengthy one here that I'll leave till the end. Can we use a third-party license as some part of modules that we develop? So that is a very specific technical question that I'm not sure, maybe if João, you have an idea, or if this is something maybe that we should be discussing in a separate email exchange. Because
Yeah, I think it can depend on what exactly it is, but I don't necessarily see an issue with it because if it's a license that you acquire, you are developing something that uses some third-party feature, service, application, whatever. I don't see an issue because the solutions, we are not going to be keeping the solutions. So the solutions are from the third party entities, they are yours as long as you are developing and the work that you are reporting, it's done by you, the entity applying and executing the use case. I don't see the issue.
if that's not clear, Madi, I do also see that you have your hand raised. I'm not sure if I'll allow you to talk just in case you want to uh, confirm that this is clear to you, or if you have a different question. This is to Madi Darudi.
Can I kind of complete the question?
Sure.
Yeah. The thing is, imagine that we are developing some modules, but really rely on the third-party modules. So we need to pay for them, or use some kind of their module as a paid services. So can we use them, or we should develop whatever we want on our own? For sure, we will. If it kind of needs some cost, we will pay them from the budget we are receiving. But the question is, do we allow to use some kind of this kind of services or not?
João will compliment me, but anything that you use within the framework of your project will be free to use during the project implementation. Okay, yeah. So the test beds have defined, they have their infrastructure, they have the services, which you will be able to use as part of the implementation. This is something that they are expecting. Now, depending on whatever path that your use case takes, the solution that you develop, and any, let's say, exploitable opportunities after, then that's something that, if that has a cost, that's something post-project that you will have to discuss and agree on a case-by-case basis. But within the 9 months, you will be able to use the facilities, the extensions, and the infrastructure as you and that testbed also agree during the specification phase of your project. I hope that makes sense.
Allow me to intervene summary.
Yeah.
I'm Ioannis, the coordinator. My feeling is that as we want a direct and explicit cooperation between the third party and the selected testbed, I feel that the use case should be selected in a way to be aligned with, let's say, the capabilities and the requirements of that testbed. So information which is to be collected will come via the trials. I don't feel that the applicant has to consider external cooperation with other potential subcontractors or third parties. It's not what we want. We want a direct communication between the applicant, whose application is to be accepted, and the testbed owner, actually. And it is supposed that the applicant will come with a well-described and explicit use case that will correlate all the related aims and expectations to the capabilities and, let's say, the options provided by the selected testbed, so that to have a direct communication between these two entities. I don't think that options for having extra support will be necessary. This is my personal point of view, because we want a bilateral cooperation between the testbed owner and the selected applicant per case. Thank you.
Thank you. Additional note, Ioannis and Madi. I hope that is clear. If not, if you want some further details, again, we have the dedicated email that you can reach out to, and we will try to provide you any further clarification if need be. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for being here today. Okay, we have a question from also Sumit Kumar asking about the equipment purchase will have to be returned back at the end of the project. So I'm not sure what specific equipment you're referring to, but I mean, there you will receive, should you be selected, you will receive 60,000 euros in lump sum payments. You will be submitting a proposal. You will be submitting. Right, you'll be submitting a proposed budget for the implementation of your project. Any equipment that you think you will need, you can of course list that down. Then, as part of the evaluation, the experts will evaluate how well you describe the need for that equipment as part of your project. Of course, as any good practice in European projects, you should only account for depreciation costs. But I mean, there is no the project will not be giving any equipment, anything that you particularly need that the test bed might not have. I mean, that's something that you should purchase as well. But there is no specific need to return that back to the project. I mean, it'll come out of your own budget, so which you'll have to manage. Again, this is lump sum. We're not keeping we're not keeping tabs on the specific expenses made. That is something that you, as an individual entity, have to manage. Okay, I hope that clarifies your question. Question here about, can foreigners participate in the program? I mean, in terms of countries outside, if this refers to countries outside of the European member states, there are some countries that are eligible to participate. I do not have on the top of my mind exactly which ones. I recommend that you go to the guidelines for applicants and have a look. I think there are maybe additional 6 or 7 countries. So I think the total number of eligible countries is 35. So the 27 member states plus 6, 7 maybe additional countries. Again, have a look at the guidelines, please. Success ratio in the first open call, I would say that we selected 12. We had 55 eligible, so that is just under 25% or around 25% success ratio. Okay, so quite a positive number. Okay.
Yeah. Samuel, we need to keep in mind that we have quite a lot more open slots in these open calls. We are accepting 30 projects, which hopefully will give better chances for the project apply.
Yeah, definitely. So if we receive the same amount of applications as last time, the success ratio will be 50%. So, I mean, quite significantly higher. I've been leaving, there's a question here from, apologies if I'm mispronouncing, but Najib Mawala, that seems to be a bit more complex. I'm not sure if he or she is interested in opening up the mic so that you can verbalize the question, maybe provide a bit more detail. Otherwise, send us an email. Would you like to verbalize your question, Najib? Maybe raise your hand if you'd like to. Perfect. So I'll allow you to talk. It might be easier to understand. Go for it.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for giving me the floor to ask my question. Basically, my question is much more related to the testbed aspect, as we are located in France and we are doing some research in the healthcare domain. We have some constraints related to the management of health records. And I'm looking to have much more information, if it is possible, to deploy something with some home care patients in terms of 5G, 6G facilities that can interact locally in France with how we can shape this with some test bed in other countries in Europe, because we don't have any test bed in France. So I know I see this as a constraint to develop something in this field, or it's doable.
Maybe I can pass the. Thank you, Najib. I'm not sure if João, you have an answer. If this should be.
If I understood correctly, so we have our testbeds, and you should run your experiments in our testbeds now. It can or it cannot make sense depending on the testbed. We have specific testbeds targeting specific verticals, which is one of these topics that Samuel is showing on the screen. For dedicated health use cases that want to use real patients and hospitals, probably the German test bed is the more suitable one because it's the one that's really targeting health and has contacts with Charité, which is a university dedicated to health research, and they have some contacts with hospitals. But I think it would depend on the interest of the testbed and what your use case specifically is wanting to do. It might be feasible, it might not be, but ideally you would look for that test.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for your answer. I will go through the documents in order to check this feasibility at the technical side. Thank you.
Also, you can, like Samuel has been saying, you can send us an email and we can ask directly internally with the testbed to see before you move on to writing the proposal to see if it could be feasible or not. That would avoid you wasting time and us wasting time rejecting a proposal that can't be done. So it's always good to contact previously. If we can answer, we do. If not, then we'll leave it up for a proposal.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you, Najib. As you said, recommendation is to start by looking at the documents, technical annex in particular, and then build maybe your question, your proposal idea based on that, and let us know if any particular question, then we'll try to answer as Jerome was saying. Okay, and then I know we're a minute already past our time, but there is one last question here about APIs, which I will ask Jerome to answer.
So these APIs are not necessarily supposed for use case to integrate. These are for the components of the platform. So what you will do most likely is just interact with our portal. You define the test case, select the test case, and then you just check the results. You do have the southbound API, which is the one that's directly connected to the testbed infrastructure. And you will probably have to integrate some of your solutions with those APIs in order to be able to run some specific experiments, for example, to collect some KPI or some metrics. So it will be case by case, but the northbound APIs will not be available for external parties to integrate. You'll interact with them, but through our components. I don't know if that answered the question or not. I see that Boris has the end right. So
I think it might have been from a previous question as well. But in any case, anything that was not clear from our explanations today, again, for another time, or repeating what we've already mentioned, you can, of course, reach out to us. I'll put here on the screen for a few moments the email, which is opencall@6gpath.eu. We have a discussion forum on the F6S application page. There is plenty of ways to reach out to us, and we will do our best to provide you with the best suited answer, ensuring, of course, as best of an equal treatment as possible, also with other applicants. Your doubt might be the doubt of others, and we will, of course, make that information available to others as well, if relevant. Okay, so just to not spend more than one additional minute, I will close the webinar with one last slide, which is, in a nutshell, what this open call number 2, 6G-PATH open call number 2 is about. So again, we are offering up to 60,000 euros. We will be funding 30 projects, focusing on the development of use cases that make use of infrastructure, original infrastructure from 6G-PATH, and those that we have onboarded through our first open call. It is open to SMEs and RTOs, single entities only, and it is a mandatory part of the process to select one of the use case topics, which we were just showing. Okay, keep in mind this is equity-free funding. You'll be receiving, by participating in the program, the assistance program, business and technical support, and of course, visibility and promotion, which runs both ways. We benefit from your participation. I'm sure that you would benefit from being involved in a very a valuable project such as 6G-PATH. Okay. So I want to thank everyone very much for being here today on this in August. I know it is a particularly not a particular time of the year. Thank you for being here. Again, please reach out if you have any particular questions. The recording will be online by the end of the week. It will also be linked to our website, our social media, so you're always open to rewatch. I want to thank Ioannis for his intervention, as well as João, and for the support in the Q&A sessions. And on behalf of them, the full 6G-PATH team, I wish everyone a happy application period, a summer break if that is the case, and we look forward to your submission by the 10th of July, 5 p.m. Central European summertime. So until then, best of luck. Thank you for being here, and see you soon.